Okay. Hello, guys. Good afternoon. My name is Imanshu Bobde. I'm the technical team lead at GDSC BBCONM. This is our very first machine learning based event. In today's event, we are mainly going to focus on neural networks with some basics and a hands on practical of YOLO architecture for object detection. So, what is machine learning? Can I get any active responses? Can someone tell what exactly is machine learning? These are a few buzzwords that you might get to hear about.
Sure. Machine learning is basically when you reiteratively enable a machine to learn on itself without any actual coding required for the learning part.
Well, this is a partially correct answer. But yes, whenever we hear about machine learning, we just get around these buzzwords like it's smart, it is going to the future. We get to know all about deep learning, data analytics, big data. But these terms or buzzwords are often misinterpreted or misunderstood and used in place of each other due to lack of knowledge. You often must have came across terms like data analytics, data mining, artificial intelligence, deep learning, big data, and data science. But what exactly is machine learning? Machine learning is the study of computer algorithms that can improve automatically through experience and by the use of data. Computer or any machine understands only binary language, the language of zeros and ones. Then how can something so primitive be so intelligent? The answer is computers are tremendously fast, and that is the only key features they have. Now, when we talk about machine learning making our lives easy, we are not wrong. We humans have made machines smarter by writing tremendous amount of algorithms that can process the data, find the patterns in the data, and make it smarter to predict an output. So the question is, are machines smarter or not? The answer is that it is us who make them smarter. Here is to give you a clearer illustration of the overlapping of the domains and subdomains. So you might get a clearer idea how this entire thing works. What is machine learning? What is AI? What is deep learning? And how it is subdomains of other domain. Okay. But today we won't talk about the basics of what is a supervised model, what is unsupervised ML technique. Every ML workshop or tutorial will drive you through these basics. Instead of making the redundant efforts, we thought of telling you more about basics of neural networks. A neural network is a series of algorithms that endeavors to recognize underlying relationship in a set of data through a process that mimics the way human brain operates. In this way, neural networks refer to system of neurons, either organic or artificial in nature. And yes, I don't think so all of you understood. So let's try it with an example. Okay. So Spider-Man is in a lot of hype these days. So I'm going to explain this neural network with a basic example of a Spider-Man. So now, let's say the entire team, technical team 2 of JDSC gathered, and the task was to identify how the Spider-Man looks like. So Aishwarya was responsible for how the head of the Spider-Man is going to look like. Samik was responsible for the shoulders. Swastik was responsible for the body. Anish was responsible for the arms, and Amay was responsible for the legs. So now I asked all of them to collect the data they can gather around from the internet or from anywhere and just pass it on to me. When the different parts of the body were forwarded to me, my task was to assemble all of them and give a single image of a Spider-Man. So this is a basic idea of how it is going to work. But how can we make it smarter? Let's just say by some sort of mistake, Aishwarya brings a Batman's head. So now when I compile the entire images, I get a Spider-Man's body with a Batman's head. and that is certainly not what we are expecting it to do it, right? So how can we improve the model? How can we know, how can we make our algorithm smarter? So here is where Mayuresh comes into picture. So Mayuresh is now responsible to make sure if the predicted output image is what we are expecting or not. So when I pass on this entire image of a Batman's head and a Spider-Man's body, Mayuresh will tell us if it is a right output or not. If it is not a right output, what Mayuresh will tell us is that just go back, Himanshu, and tell your team to again rearrange or reassemble their inputs and come back to me. Okay. So basically Mayuresh will now give the command back to the entire neural network system, and it will be stored as the experience in the entire neural network architecture. Now, Samip might go because the point is that we don't know who exactly made the mistake. It was Aishwarya, but Himanshu doesn't know who exactly made the mistake. So Samip might go and bring Batman's shoulder, and that is again certainly not something that we were hoping. So after n number of permutation and combination, Aishwarya finally came with a Spider-Man's head. Now it was again passed on to Himanshu. The entire picture of Spider-Man was given, and Mayuri said, yes, it is exactly what we were expecting. So in this case, in this way, with experience, the machine learning algorithm will train itself in terms of neural network, if we talk about neural networks. So this is how, with experience and data, we can train our model. Uh, yes. So I talked about in a very layman's language. Now, talking a little about the mathematics and how it is going to work. Now, consider the inputs to be x1, x2, x3, where w1, w2, w3 are the weights. Now, what are these weights? I hope everyone has solved linear equation into variables, right? We used to have two variables x and y to determine the straight line equation. The equation would look like ax plus by equals to c. Let's make it simpler for you. Let's make it as ax1 plus bx2 equals c. Here x1 and x2 are the variables. Now, as the prerequisite, I want to tell you that x1, x2, x3 are the input to the entire neural network system. Now C is the output. We have to adjust A and B in such a way that for any given values of x1 and x2, the answer should be close to C. I'll repeat this again. We have to adjust the values of A and B in such a way that for any given values of x1 and x2, the answer should be close to C. Now, again, making it more familiar to you, let's just substitute A and B by W1 and W2. The equation finally turns out to be W1 into X1 plus W2 into X2 equals to C. The baseline is that we are going to have multiple variables, and our task is to create weights in such a way that we approach towards or close to C. Okay. So now, to adjust the values of C, we have few functions. I won't dive into the depth of these functions, but if anybody wants to know the mathematics, please feel free to contact me. I would love to explain the mathematics behind it. And also, if you think you have to go through all of the statistics, it's wrong. There are pre-built libraries for doing all of this. So now I will demonstrate you a neural network. But before even moving forward to that, I'll just tell you what a sigmoid function is. The sigmoid function looks like this, and the derivative of the sigmoid function looks like this. Now, to adjust our weights or getting the weights in such a way that we approach our output value, this is the formula that we use to adjust our weights. Okay, so the formula for error is output minus actual output, and we adjust weights by error into input into differentiation of sigmoid function or the normalizing function. Okay. So before even getting started with the code with me session, I'll just demonstrate you how it is going to look like. So we are going to have the input as 0 1 1 and the output is going to be 1. And similarly for 1 1 1 it is going to be 1. So if you look closely, this is not any sort of AND gate or OR gate or XOR gate, but the simple logic lies in the problem itself, that all the first rows uh, affect a lot to the output. The first row, the first column is the output. The first column is the output. But when we pass this entire input and output table to the neural network, it won't understand it easily. So we have to train it, make adjustment to the weights, and come to the conclusion. So yes, let's get started. So we'll just create a basic neural network. So is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just quickly import NumPy, and as described, we are going to define our normalization function, that is sigmoid function. So in this way, we write our normalization function. Now we need to also define what is the derivative of this function, as it is required in calculation of the error. So let's just pass a random value x, return x. So now when we differentiate this value, we are going to get x into 1 minus x. Okay. Okay. So now we are going to give the training input, and it is going to be a numpy array. So np dot array. So it was 0 comma 0 comma 1, and 1 comma 1 comma 1, then 1 comma 0 comma 1, and finally 1 comma 0 comma 1 comma 1. So this is how the input array is going to look like. Now we are also going to give it a training output. So I'll quickly write it down. So the output is going to look like 0 comma 1 comma 1 comma 0. So now we have to do the transpose of it, as we need to have a appropriate uh, format for it, so that we can do the dot product of it later. So training output, yes, we have already given it. So I'm going to use a function from NumPy. So we are going to generate random values for weights, but just because I want to keep these values same when you do it, I'll just use this function called as seed. Using this, when even if you try the same entire code in your computer, you will encounter the same random values. Okay. Now I'll just define synaptic weights. So these synaptic weights are nothing but the weights that we defined. So these are the values of W1, W2, W3, and yes, W3. So let's just print the synaptic weights. how it is going to look like. So this is how the synaptic weights are going to look like. Okay. So after this, I'm going to loop it through at least 1,000 iterations, just so our algorithm makes at least 1,000 iterations to make the adjustment to the neural network. So I'll quickly define a variable to store our training input. Okay. After that, I'll just define an output variable to be passed on to the normalizing function. So for this, I'm going to use np dot product of input layer and the synaptic weights. So I'll just quickly show you why I'm doing this. So you saw this equation, right? X1 in x of I into W of I. This is exactly what we are doing. We are just multiplying the input layer with the weights. So coming back to our code, now we are going to define the error. Now we are just going to multiply it. Sorry, we are going to give it the training output value minus the outputs. Adjustments, error. Now this is the same function that I told you earlier. We are going to pass on sigmoid derivative function and the outputs. Now we need to update our synaptic weights. That is why we are doing all of this, right? So I'll just do this thing. np dot input layer dot transpose adjustments. Okay. So in this manner, we can actually calculate the error and try to minimize our errors. And with the help of this entire adjustment thing, we can update our synaptic weights. So the previous values for synaptic weights were this. So after 1,000 iterations, it is going to make many changes and adjust the weights accordingly. Now I'll just quickly see how our synaptic weights look like now. Okay, so now you can see the synaptic weights have been changed. Okay, let me see the outputs. Okay, so this is the out. I'll just comment this out. Okay, for your reference, these were the synaptic weights by default that we generated randomly, and after 1,000 iterations, we adjusted the entire synaptic weights that we were having. So now these are the W1, W2, and W3 for the entire neural network. So I'll just comment it out so you can see the output. So now this is the output. Now if you see carefully, this is the value for the first input was 0. Okay, the output was 0, so it is 0.03, which is close to 0, and we can conclude it as a value 0. The second value was 1, so yes, we are having the value as 1. The third value was also 1, which is close to 1, 0.97, it is close to 1. And the third value 0.025, which is also close to 0. So the conclusion is that we can have the output as 0. So in this way, we got exactly what we wanted to have. We adjusted our synaptic weights and came to a conclusion. So this is how you made a simple neural network in just 23 lines. There is no rocket science behind this. So what we see around is that we have so many libraries. So what people do is they just mix such functions, club them inside into one single library, and make those available for pre-processing the entire data. So Yes, that is how we do everything in neural networks. Now, coming to a neural network architecture, that is YOLO. Anish will get started with how the entire YOLO model is and how the entire YOLO architecture is.
Thank
So,
you,
Anish,
Himanshu,
yes.
for briefing us about the neural network. Now, this is the very crucial part to be understood. Next slide, please. People out there uses various pre-trained models and mislead others that they made the entire project on their own. But the ground truth is that someone else worked on the training the model from the scratch and other just used that model. And today we are going to learn to make our own YOLO object detection model from the scratch using the custom dataset. So what actually custom dataset is? A dataset is actually the collection of data which is used for training a model. And to do that, right from gathering the dataset from pre-processing the data to train and test the model and to generate the file and to train it. Next slide, please. But before going further, we need to know what YOLO is and how YOLO works. So YOLO stands for the You Only Look Once, and it is a single short object detection algorithm, which means that the prediction in the entire image is done in the single go. We do not have to run this program or this code multiple times to get the results. We can do this by passing it in a single go. And it employs the convolutional neural network to detect the image in the real time and also to predict the class probability and the bounding box. And in this, we can pass the inputs in form of images, or even we can take the output. Even we can pass it as a video. And we have to talk about how it works. And it works on the basis of three techniques. Can you change the slide, Imanju? It works. It is a combination of three techniques. The first technique is the residual blocks, which means that whenever we put an image as an input, it divides the image into grid of equal sizes. Right now, you see there is an image at the right of this residual block, which shows that whenever we pass an input, this image divided into the grids of the equal size. This grid help us? This grid will help us predict whether the object is present in that grid or not, or to tell us make the bounding boxes and also the confidence score. So the second technique is bounding box regression, and it is the technique to predict the bounding box in the model. Now you are thinking that what bounding boxes are. So bounding boxes are actually the imaginary rectangle in the in the bounding boxes is an outline that highlights the object in the image, which consists of the following information about the system. Right at the right, you can see there is an image where we have the yellow box around the image and showing us the following parameters, that the width, height, class probability, and the bounding box centers. Bounding box centers, that there is a point in between the image, that is XY coordinates of that, and that's why YOLO uses bounding box regression technique to predict its height and width and the class. And the third and the most important technique, intersection over union. It's actually a phenomenon in object detection which describe how the boxes overlap. And we know that each grid is responsible for predicting the bounding box and the confidence score. The value of IO is equal to 1. So if the predicted box value is equal to real box, and if the predicted box value is not equal to real box, it eliminate that bounding box from the image and it do not show it as an object. Right now, at the side you can see that there is an image of a cat. There are two boxes, one is the predicting box and the other one is the real box, and they are overlapping each other. So that's why it will show us that the cat is present over there, and the below image will show that how the YOLO works with the combination of these techniques. The first technique is an input. The first image is an input and the third image is the output, and the second image in the between them you can see there are two other images. And in the first image you see there are grids which is responsible for making the bounding box around every object that is possible in that image. But you see that along with the bounding box there is a confidence score also, and you are thinking what confidence score is. So confidence score is how confident your model that the box contain an object in it and how accurate that bounding box is. And in the image below you can see different colors into grid, the pink color, yellow color, and the blue color. And why they are different colors, why not the single color? It's because in the image we have different classes, so to define different classes accordingly it will change its color. Like for the blue one it's showing that behind that it is an dog, and behind the yellow grid color grids there is cycle, and behind the pink color grids it is car. So after doing this, the next step is similar, that intersection over union. What it will do, it will make the predicted box are there, so it will make the real box. And if it matches, it will show us the object. If it doesn't matches, it only shows, it will eliminate that bounding box. After, in the second image, you see the black bounding boxes. It already has so many bounding boxes, but in the result we only have three different colored boxes. Why? Because the only these three predicted box value matches the real box value. Okay, but before after this is how YOLO actually works. So now for making our YOLO algorithm, we have to start with making an custom data set. And how we can do that? Himanshu, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, Anish.
Okay. Okay, the now we have to come our hands on the labeling tutorial. What we have to do is, and why labeling is actually important, we need to know that. As a human, if I show you a notebook, you will understand that that it is a notebook. Because why? I've told you earlier that this is notebook. Your parents told you that this is a notebook. But machine is dumb. He didn't know anything at all. So we have to first label it and tell the machine that whenever you see something like that, you have to say it is the notebook. Similarly, it works with any other image you pass it on. Like you showing them the bike and train them on the bike. That's how we're gonna do that. And how we can do that? Firstly, we have to create a download. We are going to create a custom data folder in the download directory, as I already created into this. And the second step is there is add an image py extension into the Chrome. What actually image py extension is doing here? So we know that to make a custom data set, we need to download the images for a data set. So how are we going to do that? Either we can do it manually, but we know that the data sets contain thousands of images, so it definitely be impossible for us to make a data set of such big images. So what we're going to use, I will use this extension to download the multiple images at once. And how can I do that? I will add this Google Chrome extension into my Google Chrome, as I've already added it over here. As you can see that this is an image py extension. It will help me to download the multiple images at a time. And now the next step is to download the images, and how we can do that. And today we are training a data set on, we are training a model on the three class categories, that is bike, mobile and cars. And I will show you how to do that. Right now you see this is an bike images having the 400 into 400 pixels. And what can I, how can I do download all the multiples images at a single go? I will click on this extension. It will automatically filter me all the possible images. See, it is say the found 85 images of the pixel 400 into 400. What I'm going to do next is select all and download. And similarly, we can go with the mobile also. We can do the similar. It will filter all the possible images of 400 into 400 pixel, and I again select and download 85 images at a single go. It saves us a lot of time. But what we have to make sure that whenever we download these images, these all should be in the same format. Whether it is, if we are making downloading in a JPG format, so make sure your all files should be in the JPG format. If they are not, you have to convert each file. And after doing this, I have already downloaded the files, because it will take a lot of time to download the 85 files. So I have downloaded two files, two images per class, like two images of mobile, two images of car, and two images of bike. And what next step is? Next step is to rename these images. Why rename? Because right now you're seeing the name of the images are quite difficult to understand and too difficult to for a data set to understand. So what I'm going to do is I will rename each file. Instead of doing it manually, right now I only have 6 images, you see, so it's easy to do it manually. But what if you have thousands of images? It is the most convenient way to, if you do it manually, it will definitely brings you an error, or you can get an error. And how I'm going to do this? Open a Jupyter notebook. After that, go to the downloads, custom data, Sorry. So what I'm going to do now is import OS directory, OS module. It helps me to get interacting with our operating system, and after that I'm going to rename each file at a single go. This will be the code for renaming your whole all the images at a single go. See, after passing this command, you see that all the images are names are changed. They are at a single go. So whenever you create a thousands of images or even any data set, you can change it in a single go. The next step is the labeling part. And labeling part means I will define each image that how it is, what is in the image, and how we can do that. For that, we can use the label image tool for labeling part. And how we can download that, I will there the link is provided here. I will provide you in this PDF will be provided to you, or this presentation will be provided to you. You can directly download it from here. But this is how it looks like, and now you have to download the latest version for your system. And after doing that, so this is how the label image tool look like. What you're going to do next is you will select this folder. Now you see that your image is over here. And now what you have to do is next, see there is an pascal.voc. You have to change whenever you do labeling in this thing, it will save your file in the XML form. So you have to change it to the YOLO so that you get the text files, you get the text files. And how you can label this? Use this, create rectangle box. And now give what it is. It is mobile. So I will label it as mobile and save into my system. Similarly, what I have to do is label this image as it is a car. Just like that, we are going to label all the 6 images. Now you see all the labeling part is done, and corresponding to each image there is a txt files. And apart from that, there is a classes file. So what actually classes files contain? These contain all the classes that we have defined into our labeling module, labeling part. And if we add in another image like of a Barack Obama or Elon Musk, it will automatically add this as a class into this folder and keep updating after every image we're going to download, or what other class we're going to download. And what these text files contain? It text file contain the index value, that is 0, because as we know that we define mobile as a zeroth index. As even in the class you can see the mobile have the 0 index, car had the fun index, and the bike has a second index. And similarly you see the car contain the first index. And what are the other 4 coordinates? The first 2 coordinates are the bounding box regression of the centers, and the last 2 points are the height and the width of an bounding box. And this is how you do the labeling part.
Okay.
Thank you, Himanshu. Over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Anish. That was a wonderful explanation. So, the entire motive of introducing you guys to the custom model is that I really want you all to know how custom model works. What people do is they just take a pre-trained model and say, hey, I was able to detect someone's face. Hey, I was able to recognize someone's face or recognize an object. But how it is built from scratch, this is how it is done. So now labeling of an entire data set will take so much of time because we need to pass on at least 200 images per object. So I've already made a custom data set for that, and this custom data set contains almost 600 files and 600 text file corresponding to each and every single image. So there are 200 images of bike, 200 images of a car, and 200 images of a mobile phone. And lastly, there is this additional classes.txt file. So what is this txt file? As mentioned by Anish, this is basically uh, the classes file in which on zeroth index we are having a bike, on the second on the first index we are having a mobile phone, and on the second index we are having a car. So the class ID for bike is going to be 0, the class ID for mobile is going to be 1, and class ID for car is going to be 2. Okay. So yes, so how are we going to use YOLO for this? As I've illustrated earlier, we were having an entire neural network architecture. So YOLO is just nothing but a neural network architecture. We just have to define how we are going to feed the images to the algorithm. It has a series of hidden layers, which is constructed in such a way that the output is going to be maximized, as the efficiency of the output is going to be maximized. So you can train any type of object. Let's say you can pass on any type of object, or you can pass on anyone's face, even face, to make it recognize how someone looks like or how an object looks like. And even you can pass on the text um, part as well, so it can do the text recognition as well. So we are already having 600 text files and 600 images as defined. So for YOLO, we are going to use a repository called as Darknet, which is a part of YOLO. And what we are going to do is we are going to make changes to the CFG file, that is the config file, and the make file before proceeding or compiling the entire Darknet repository. We are going to see how the classes.txt files look like, and we are going to make a train and test split, and also we are going to download a Darknet conv file for that purpose. So let's dive directly. Before that, does anyone have any doubt? Is there anyone who has any doubt? Please feel free to ask. No one? Okay, great. So now I'm going to create a folder called YOLO underscore custom underscore model underscore training. Okay. So we have created this folder in our Google Colab, Google Drive. And after that, we are going to have this data set. So what I'm going to do is I'll just compress it to a zip file, and I have to upload the zip file to the drive. So I'll just upload it quickly. Okay, where did it go? Yes. So custom underscore data dot zip. So it will basically have the entire data set. Okay. So before even moving forward, I'll just quickly do some prerequisites that we need to do. So we need to define a backup folder. I'll tell you why do we need a backup folder. Again, we are going to create a custom underscore wait folder. Yes. Now, what we are going to do is we are just going to download an additional file that is a prerequisite for YOLO. So I'll just go here and I'll find that file. The file name is darknet 53. Okay, okay. So this is the file darknet 53 model. So it is a pre-trained convolutional weight. Okay, it is not a pre-trained object detection algorithm. Okay, it is for convolutional neural network that we are having. I'll just download it once. Okay, so I have downloaded it already on my system, so I'll just upload it. I'm just doing the prerequisites of the entire uh, model training part. So if you see, this is the file. I'll just upload it. It will take some time. Okay. By the time, I'll just go to Google Colab. And define a new notebook. Okay. So I'll just rename this one as GDC day one. Okay. So we named it like that. So by the time, yes, our weights are done. Yeah. So firstly, we need to do one more thing. We need to activate the GPU of Google Colab. So this is necessary because we are going to deal with images, and when we deal with images, GPU works very well as compared to the CPU. So we are going to do that, and yes, we'll just connect our notebook. It will take some time. Meantime, I'll mount the Google Drive on my Google Colab. So it will go like a from google.colab import drive drive.mount. So slash content is the default directory that we have. So before even doing that, we just need to give access to our Google Drive. Okay, so now in this way, our Google Colab will connect with our Google Drive. It will take some time. Okay, it is mounted. Great. So I'll just check what is our current directory. Okay, so our current directory is content. So I just quickly change the directory. List it. And the folder name was YOLO underscore custom underscore model underscore training. Yes. Yes. So as you can see, we have these three uh, files and folder inside our Google Drive. So now we have the zip file. Now we need to extract and get the images and text files. So What we are going to do is we are going to use this command unzip slash content slash drive slash my drive YOLO underscore custom. Okay. Okay. And where do we have to extract it? It is going to be this directory. Okay, so we are given the destination for where we are going to unzip it. Okay. Okay. And we also need to give the custom underscore data dot zip. So yes, basically we have given the directory and where the file is located. Now we need to unzip this file. So I have given this command and we have given the destination where we have to extract it. So I'll just extract it. Okay. So now we are having our 600 images and 600 corresponding text files containing the bounding boxes for it. Now after that, we need to clone a repository, that is darknet repository. So I'll just quickly show you where it is. So GitHub darknet repository. I'll just search for it. Yes, this one. So this is the repository that we are going to work with. Okay. So I'll just quickly come back here, and after that I'll just use a command git clone https://github.com, and what was the directory's name? alexeb.net. So it is going to be alexeb slash darknet dot git. And where do we want it? We have to specify the path for it. So it's drive, my drive, YOLO underscore custom underscore model underscore training slash darknet. Okay, so this will basically, okay, HTTP, okay, right. So this will basically clone the entire darknet repository into a Google Drive in the specified location. I'll just keep refreshing it, and yes, you can see we have this additional folder now, all as darknet, and we already extracted this folder custom underscore data. It will have the entire data. Okay, great. So far so good. Just, yeah. So let's change our working directory now. So cd slash content. Let me see what is the current directory. Let's see. So we are in content. We need to change our directory. Cd slash content slash drive slash my drive slash YOLO underscore custom underscore yes. and after that we'll get inside the darknet one. Okay, now let's check what is the current directory. It will show our current directory. Yes, we are inside the darknet repository. So now we need to activate our GPU. Okay, we have already activated our GPU in Google Colab, but the algorithm should be able to use it. So there is a make file in the darknet repository. So I'll just download it. And after downloading it, I'll just open it with VS Code. So we'll get to know what is inside it. So yes, here we have to turn our GPU on. So when we turn the value from 0 to 1, that make sure that GPU will be started. We have to give CUDA CUNN as the value of 1. CUDA CUNN is basically a GPU accelerator. So for that we have to turn it on, and OpenCV, turn OpenCV to 1. So I've already made these changes. So I'll just come back here uh, and just replace it with the modified file. Now another change that we have to make is go to darknet repository and go to the configuration files. Now here we will find, now the version of YOLO that we are using here is YOLO v3 version 3. So we need to locate where YOLO v3 file is located. Now let's say it is YOLO v3.cfg. Now we are going to download this file. Okay, keep this file and again open this file in our VS Code. So what actually we are trying to do here is we are just making the entire model ready for the model training. So this is how we compile the entire darknet repository. These are the prerequisites that we need to give to the entire neural network algorithm. So here we are going to train the model. So we have to uncomment the training part. Okay. After that, we need to make changes to the maximum batches. So maximum batches tells you how many iterations that we are going to have. So we have 3 classes. So the normal explanation for this is we have 2000 iterations per class to get a good result. So this is something that you will get to know with experience. So it is 2000 into 3 classes, that is going to be 6000. I'll just put 6000 here, and after that uh, I'll go to this part. So we need to define the number of steps that we are having. So I'll just define it quickly. And after that, I need to, so as I explained earlier, there were many hidden layers in the entire neural network part. So in YOLO also, there are many hidden layers. So we need to give a proper input or the proper prerequisite or the proper, you can say, configuration of the number of classes that we are having. So in this case, we are going to we are having just 3 classes, but by default they have shown that we have 80 classes. We'll just correct that one. Okay, and after that we have to change the number of filters. So this is from the preceding layer. So as each and every layer is connected, is going to be connected with its preceding layer, so we need to give number of filters in such a manner that it corresponds to the number of classes that we are having. So the calculation for the number of filters is simple. That is the number of classes, that is 3 into 5 plus, sorry, it's plus 3 multiplied by 3. So this is a calculation that you will find, because the point is that when you explore documentation of the LO, any sort of algorithm, you'll get to know which configuration will work the best on that particular algorithm. So this is what I found, that this sort of configuration works the best and the output is best if we set the parameters in such a way. So 3 plus 5 is 8, 8 into 3 is 24, so I'll just directly give it as 24. And then again I'll go to the next layer. So coming to the next layer, yes, coming to the next layer, again we'll give the filters as 24, and the classes as 3. Again we'll go to the last layer, we'll again define the filters as 24 and the classes as 3. Okay, so now we save this file as YOLOv3 underscore custom.cfg by this name. Okay, I have made that changes already. So yes, here is this file. So I'm going to upload this file in this folder. Okay, so now the prerequisites of entire compilation part is done. So we can now use a simple command, a simple make command, to compile our darknet repository. This will make sure all the files are in a proper manner and in a proper directory with proper configuration. So we'll just use this command. So this will make sure everything is done. Will take some time. Okay. So there is a function called as darknet slash darknet. So when we run it, it actually will tell us if the repository is successfully compiled or not. Just wait for a few more minutes. This is taking some time. Okay, so it is executed. Our repository is compiled. Okay, we have to check current directory. Okay, we are already inside the darknet repository, right? So I'll just change it, change the directory to check if we have a proper. Okay, drive. Yes. So now our current directory, yes. So now we can use that command to check if it's working fine. So yes, it is working fine. Okay. Now we need to create uh, the custom train and test data spread. Okay. So now for this purpose, we are just having here the files, that is images and text. Okay. And at the last, if you see carefully, there is a classes.txt file, which I've shown you earlier, right here in this part, this file, classes.txt. Okay. So I'm going to give two sorts of Python programs to this entire repository. Okay. So these are the two Python, dynamic Python files. So what these two codes will do is it's basically it will take all the names of all the JPGs or all the images and pair it with the corresponding text files and also make a train and test script. So how will it look like? So I'll show you how will it look like. I'll just run the code for once and you can see the output. So it will be more elaborative for you. I'll just run Python custom underscore data slash creating. Okay. So what this file will do is basically create the data file. Okay. I'll tell you what this data file is. And Python custom underscore data slash creating train and test bed. Okay. So I ran this both of the codes. So what this will do is it will basically generate a data file and a text file containing the train and test bed. I'll show you quickly how it looks like. This entire thing is very confusing and you might find difficulty to understand all of this. But yes, again, if you go to the simpler part, people will never know how to create a custom model. Okay. So see, we have created, so firstly, we uploaded these two files, these two Python files, and we already had this classes.txt file. So now what these two codes did was they created this two files. Okay. So the first file was classes.names, which is basically nothing but the same entire classes.txt file. So if you want to see how it looks like, I'll just show you how it looks like. I just downloaded. So yes, this is just classes.txt file. Just the extension is changed from .txt to .names. That's it. And after that, we are going to have this labeled underscore data dot data. As I've mentioned earlier, we are going to have a data file. So what this data file is exactly, I'll just download it again and show you what is inside the data file. So basically, this will just tell you how many number of classes that we are having, and it will just give the path of the training txt file and the test txt file. Okay, and also the part 2 classes.names file. Now you remember something called as backup. We created a backup folder here, right here. Okay, if I go back, okay, I'll show what that backup folder is, but firstly you need to understand what train.txt contains. So basically it will just have all the images. Okay, so the split made here is 80 to 20. So let's make 80 percent of 600 images. That comes out to be how much? 6 is 48. So these are approximately 480 images that are stored. So this text file just contains the name of the images that are going to be there for training, and this file contains all the 120 other images. So this is how we manually define our training and testing dataset, and this is for a kind information totally random. So the algorithm has randomly chosen files and put it inside this training and testing part. Okay. So yes, talking about the backup folder. So what is this backup folder? So this backup folder is basically whenever model gets trained, all the model files or the weight files are going to be stored inside this folder. Every single progress that is made by the algorithm will be stored inside this folder. Okay. So that is the purpose of the backup folder. So now coming back, I have already shown you the labeled underscore data dot data, right? Yes, yes, I have. So now I'll just go to the training part. We have compiled all the files, all the necessary configuration files with the data set. Everything is ready. Now we just need to give a simple command to make our entire data set train over this YOLO architecture. So for that, we just need to show our current directory. First, we need to check what is our current directory. Okay, so I'll just go darknet slash darknet detector. So these are a few predefined functions. Okay, so now for the training part, we are going to pass on data slash labeled. I need to check what is the destination. Yeah, sorry. Now, if you also remember, we created a YOLO CFG file, right? And we uploaded it. So this is the CFG file that we are going to have. Now we are going to pass it on. Okay. Yes. So after that, also, if you remember, we downloaded an additional prerequisite file. It was called as custom underscore weight. So we are going to pass that file as well. So custom underscore weight slash darknet. Yes. Okay. And don't show. So basically, we are giving the command of training it. Okay, and after that we are passing the labeled data.data file, which contains the path to your train directory, test directory, and number of classes you are having, and where you have to store the model that you are having. Okay, after that we are having the CFG file as we have configured it earlier, and also the convolutional layer file. So I'm just going to run this command. Okay. So yes, GPU count as 1, CUDA is activated. Okay. So now our model has started training. So now it is going to take all the images and going to train it over and over again. Tell each and every time that this is a car, this is a bike, and this is a mobile phone. Over 200 images, it will go on and train itself in such a way that it gets a very good output. Now, the calculation of the accuracy is done by IOU, something that Anish told us. So the model will go try to predict the output, see if it matches the ground truth box, that is the ground bounding box. Check the IOUs. If IO is close to 75% or above, then it is going in the right direction, or else it will go back and say, hey, no, it's not a car, it's a bike. So in that way, it will train the entire model. So this entire model training will take at least 2 to 3 hours to train, because the number of iterations that we gave was 2000 per class. So it is going to take a lot of time to train. So I'll just wait for a few minutes until we have our first file, but I guess it will take 15 minutes at least to produce first model file. So okay, no worries. I'll just show how the output looks like. So I guess yes, in this backup file, after 3 hours of training, these files will be created. So after 15 minutes, one single file is generated, roughly 15 minutes. So after 1000 iterations, you can see a first file. Then after 2000, second file, third file. Similarly, I have said 3 classes, 2000 iterations for one single class. So it ran, it had generated 6 files. Okay, 6 weight files. So these weight files are different than what we were talking in neural networks. Okay, this is basically a model file in which all the progress that we have made in model training is stored. Okay, this is basically a model file, or you can say if you have encountered a dot pickle file or a dot h5 file or a dot weight file. These are nothing but they just store all of the progress that you have made. So basically, you can just take these files and put it anywhere and get the output accordingly. So this is the final file that we are having. Just download it, this one. Okay. So after training, we'll download this one. I'll cancel this one as I already have it on my system. Okay, so this will keep training. So I'll stop it because it will take 2 hours at least. So there is, yes, I've stopped it. So coming back here, I've already downloaded these files, that is classes.names file, and also YOLO with underscore custom.final. So this is the most important file that has the entire progress of what we are having. So do you remember coming back to the point where Anish was talking about, we are going to have a custom model and where we are going to reach the end product, that is the pre-trained model. So this is exactly what we are talking about. This is the pre-trained model. This is a custom model that was trained by us. So now if someone else uses it, it is going to be a pre-trained model for them. Okay. So I'll just show you how the output is going to be like. Okay. Yes. So now we are just going to pass on this model file to the algorithm. Okay. And also we are going to pass on the custom CFG file as it is one of the requisite for testing purpose. So now why we have passed it on, because if you remember, we have passed on the parameters for preceding layers. So this is the reason that we need this custom.cfg file. So, and also I have passed on the classes.names file. So it knows what classes that we are having. Okay. So I'll just run it. It says loading YOLO and YOLO is loaded. Okay. So now in the current folder, I'm having three types of images. First is a bike, second is a car, and third is a mobile phone. Okay. So I'm just passing test bike.jpg and let's see what the output is. Okay, so the output is that it is drawing a bounding box around the bike and it is saying that it is a bike. And let's just check what is the confidence score. So the confidence is approximately 88.25%. So our algorithm is now 88% sure that it is a bike. And yes, it is a bike. Now let's just go here. Let's just say car. So yes, the car was there and it is drawing a bounding box around it. So yes, a car was successfully recognized by the algorithm. And what is the, yes, the confidence level is 99.95. That means the entire car data set was very good and the model was trained over this object in a very good manner. So yes, it is pretty good. Now the last class that we had was mobile. So yes, it is identifying the mobile. Okay, but the confidence is near 65%, which is considerable enough because we are having the mobile phone, so it is able to recognize how a mobile phone looks like. So in this way you can make your own custom model and make the machine understand what an object looks like. And it is just not restricted to objects. You can try it on person as well. On a person as well, you can give 200 images of your own self and make the computer realize that, hey, this is Himanshu, hey, this is Anish. So it will understand. So this is how the entire process goes on of model training. So whenever someone takes a workshop and says, "Hey, today we'll learn how to execute an application in which we are going to show how if a person has put on a mask or not," but the ground truth is that people do not have the data set for it. People do not train the entire model for it. They just use the this weights file for that and just use the testing part to show, hey, you know what, we are executing the entire part. So people get impressed and say yes, yes, kudos. But the ground truth reality is that we should be able to know how the model is trained and how the model works in terms of neural networks, to be very specific. So yes, I guess that was it. uh, I guess the entire session was very elaborative and good enough for you all guys to understand how a custom model is trained, and how we can make our own pre-trained model and provide this model to others instead of just using a pre-trained model. This is a very complicated process, but with time and with experience, we'll get to know how to use all of this. So instead of diving into all of the basics, I thought of giving you a briefer idea of how this entire thing works. So I guess so the session was pretty helpful for you all. And just in case you have any doubts, please feel free to ask me. Any doubts? No doubts. Okay, great. So what we are going to do tomorrow is, we have learned how to build the entire model. Now we need to actually see how these models are used in production. So for that purpose, we have another event arranged by tomorrow. So it is going to be about cloning the entire Google Lens. So you will be seeing the actual application of this entire model there. So this is like a continuation of the today's event. So tomorrow we are going to use a pre-trained model and we are going to execute that entire thing on a real life application. So yes, I guess this was it for today. I hope it was helpful for you all. Feel free to contact us on LinkedIn or Instagram. We are always ready to help you guys. Yes, that's it. And also the registration links for tomorrow's events will be given in the chat box, uh, and along with the today's feedback as well. So please do fill the feedback forms as it is mandatory for the certificates. Yes, I guess yes. That is it, Mrunmayee.
Okay, so I'll stop the recording now.